Now, as Virginia just mentioned, the contract for the Australia network will stay with the ABC. For more, Melissa Clark joins us now from Canberra. Melissa, good morning. The Communications Minister, Stephen Conroy, was fairly unequivocal as to why the ABC should keep this contract.
He says the ABC is best placed to offer this service, particularly given the sensitive diplomatic role in Australia's and the ABC's role in already providing similar services like Radio Australia, which are a similar and integral part of the ABC's function. But he also made it very clear that the process hadn't turned out how he liked. He said it's unfortunate that the tender process hadn't come to a satisfactory conclusion. So the government was going to draw a line under the process and grant this service to the ABC to run from this point forward. Now, that's a decision that has been welcomed by the ABC, not surprisingly, and unwelcomed by Sky News, which was the other potential operator of this network. They were the other ones that put in a bid to run the $223 million network. The leaks that had beset this process suggested that Sky News had been the favoured tender bidder, according to the tender panel that had twice looked at this. Yet this is the outcome that has come, and not surprisingly, the CEO of Sky News, Angelo Frangopoulos, has said he finds it extraordinary and also will be looking for full compensation.
And the decision, Melissa, has also been made even though there are still two separate inquiries into that tender process.
The Australian Federal Police are looking into those leaks about the tender panel's independent recommendations about who the tender should be granted to. And then there's also an Auditor General's investigation into the whole process, given there were the leaks. It was removed from the domain of the Foreign Affairs Minister to that of the Communications Minister, and then given the responsibility for the decision given to Cabinet rather than any individual minister as well. And look, the Coalition is also pointing out that there's political questions to be asked as well. They say they are questioning why Stephen Conroy has been given charge of this, given he has a clear potential for a conflict of interest as the minister responsible for the ABC. And they also ask why the decision was made by Cabinet after they met yesterday to go ahead with just giving this option to the ABC at a time when Kevin Rudd is out of the country overseas having some international meetings about the future of Afghanistan, given it was the leaking suggested that he was the one who was quite keen to see the service move to Sky News, given the apparent decisions of the tender board to recommend Sky News. So there's still a lot of political element to this to play out, as well as the investigative elements to play out.
And before we go, Melissa, we were expecting the Reserve Bank board to make another decision on interest rates today, but before then, the government has announced fairly significant changes to the composition of that board.
They are significant changes. There's a new Deputy Governor to replace Rick Battolino, who is stepping away from the Reserve Bank. Philip Lowe, who has been with the Reserve Bank for more than 30 years and has headed up some of their economic divisions during the global financial crisis, is now the new Deputy Governor, an obvious successor to Glenn Stevens. There's also a new appointee to the board, Heather Ridout, who is best known as the current head of the Australian Industry Group and someone who has been a favoured advisor and appointee for the government in various advisory capacities and worked closely as a bridge between the business community and the government in climate change policy negotiations. So this is certainly more appointments from the federal government to the Reserve Bank board and certainly shaping the direction of the Reserve Bank by those two appointments.
Melissa Clark in Canberra, thank you.